you mentioned that in this book you investigated the macro sensitivity of these factors. Any more important than other conclusions that you drew from this analysis?
Yeah. So basically, when you look at stock selection strategies, there's very modest or non-robust macro sensitivities, especially when you do things industry neutral and market neutral. Then these styles sort of they take away much of the market risk, and those market and maybe industry exposures, they gave you the macro sensitivity. So we find very modest macro sensitivities beyond. Though some people highlight that value strategy is sort of anti-bond and defensive is bond-like, but again we find that it's not too strong, and especially when you do these things industry neutral, it is not very strong. To me, the most interesting macro sensitivities come with explicitly directional strategies like trend following and macro momentum, which is sort of similar as trend following, but chasing past macro trends, so buying some asset classes based on favorable or unfavorable macro trends, and basically there's this nice smiley feature that these strategies tend to do well, whether let's say whether equity markets are having up or down moves, as long as they are big, or rates big, or inflation. So in all of these cases, you basically benefit from large moves in those strategies, and typically those are situations where other asset classes are, especially equities, have got, if anything, sort of a frown pattern rather than smile. So they are wonderful diversifiers in that sense from this macro perspective.
Right. Yeah. So and I wanted to touch on, because I think a lot of people have inflation on their mind right now. So and I think you did just touch on it, but I want to make it explicit if there is an explicit point here. But are any particular factors particularly positively related to inflationary periods?
Yeah. So the only, like I partly poo-pooed that by saying that with stock selection value and defensive, there could be, like, people say that value might benefit from that. There are some pictures that show, but those pictures, I don't know, when you try to translate those into some correlations, look at what kind of long run correlation there has been, or what kind of rolling correlation there has been, or how much of value or strategy performance inflation moves have explained over time, tiny, non-robust, and so on. So it's very, I would say, anecdotal there. So in general, I don't find with styles much there. And the best and most robust patterns are just that with big moves, either direction, trend following, macro momentum, tend to have those favorable outcomes. And by the way, like, there is this intuition that often, let's say, inflation news tend to be somewhat gradual. And when we think of what's I don't know, behind, let's say, trend following strategies, part of the explanation often is sort of underreaction to sustained moves and so on. Well, it should fit well with these types of I don't know, inflation types of problems, which again we didn't have for a while, and now we are having, and that seems to be I don't know, working in the favor of these strategies. Yeah.